Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Ed Cohen, your broadcast host today on Global TV Talk Show. This is a unit of globalbusinessnews.net. We've been around since '03. Google Analytics says we've had 1.2 million reader page views, audience page views. But more recently, and real quick here, since we began Global TV Talk Shows in March, April of 2020, Google says we've had a little over 120,000 audience page views, and it's all because of guests like we have today. Sandra Yancey, famous author and motivational speaker, and chairman and founder, I have to read this, chairman and founder of the eWomen Network, a complete success system for connecting and promoting women and businesses worldwide. Welcome, Sandra. I'm really honored to have you.
You're honored. I'm honored. Those stats are amazing. Congratulations on your success, Ed. I'm telling you, exactly.
It's like, now I've got responsibility.
Exactly. That's what happens when you're uber successful.
I'll tell you. I see here you're also featured in Chicken Soup for the Entrepreneur's Soul.
Yes.
Soothing is, so you offer soothing positive things for people who worry about how they're going to pay the mortgage?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's so soothing, but it's honest, and it's forthright yet comforting. I mean, the most fun people I think to work with are people that have really gotten in touch with their calling, their dream, their purpose, and takes a lot of bravery to go after it, a lot of courage. Confidence comes later. Confidence is a consequence of courage, but it's first
one of the easiest ways to crash your credit rating.
Oh, stop.
No, but it can go up. It can go up too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there's the dips and valleys of life, period, no matter what journey you take, right? I mean, if it's one thing I know, going after something, a life that you don't want, at some level can be just as risky as going after a life that you do want,
So
work for a corporation for 25 years and, the economy take a whole, turn and, by function of what they have to do to survive can become the elimination of a job that maybe you never loved anyway. So at some level, you have to ask yourself, what's the better risk?
And especially now, the past year or so, when people have gotten used to not seeing that jerk boss.
Yeah.
I know, but still have to have a relationship though. So that's really difficult. Okay, let's talk about the eWomen Network and your new book.
Yeah. So, the network was really born. We'll be celebrating 21 years in September. So, I'm just
Congratulations.
right nipping at your heels. You launched before me, but in September of 2000, we launched eWomen Network, and it was designed initially, Ed, to be completely transparent as kind of the original Facebook concept for women business owners. But I learned a very valuable lesson, a tough lesson, a hard lesson, and an expensive lesson. And that was that, it was an idea before its time. I mean, if you think about it, in 2000, there was no such thing as Google, let alone, social media and the like. And most of us were still on dial up. Do you remember those days? I used to yell downstairs to the kids.
AOL.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get on the phone, because I was going on the internet kind of thing. And of course, it was all plain text. There wasn't any rich text. There certainly wasn't any color, any videos. And so I had to adjust, right? And so we ended up building a live event business, and I developed a licensing model. We have 118 chapters across the US, Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia.
Good for you.
And, I mean, a few years, about a year after that, we had the internet bust. A few years after that, we had the SARS outbreak when I was opening up Canada. And then a few years after that, we had the market crash in 2008. And now we have COVID. And, in a couple of years, it'll be something else. I mean, if it's one thing I've learned in business, it's just that every few years, you are going to be presented with problems that become opportunities for you to retool and innovate, or lay back and end up leaning back probably and dying, in business. So what eWomen Network is. It's a way in which for business owners to tap in.
I have to show you something here.
What's that?
Okay, so remember this print magazines?
I do remember print magazines.
So I don't know if you can see this.
California Bound, yes.
Yeah. So I also had Texas Bound and Chicago Bound and New York Bound and Washington Bound and Florida Bound.
Okay.
So the California
you know what I'm
Bound
talking about,
was
right?
a big one. Yeah, we used to print the, look at this, it's like 135 pages, color glossy.
Yep.
And this was before,
Yeah.
this one was one of the first ever done entirely on the Mac desktop.
Wow.
Publishing. And they did a write-up on us in their company magazine. And then Apple used the copies for a recruitment tool. They're a big client, it turns out.
Wow.
But we didn't know what we're doing, because the year before we did this, we did an earlier edition. This one, which is not bad, but
right.
This one's a little thicker and full of ads.
As you
All
grow,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
gets better.
So, and that was hand set.
Isn't it amazing?
The pictures and the lines of type.
Exactly.
Super expensive. Holy crap. Jesus.
Right.
It was so expensive. So, and then we decided, well, we met up with this guy, real quick story, at the LA Chamber of Commerce, where these were the official newcomer guide. You see this thing right here? That's
yes.
official newcomer guide.
Mm-hmm.
They bought 100,000 copies.
Wow.
$10 each.
Is that right?
This is
Yeah,
back
but you got it on you made money on the volume, right?
on the 80s, in the 80s. So we never did it online. And when the internet came, and then a divorce, I said, what more can happen,
Right. Be careful. Be careful asking that question.
I learned how to do the internet. Okay.
Right.
So now what we're doing, this is years later now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're in COVID, and my live conference business, which was an outgrowth of this thing, bringing together all those clients in one place. And I'll be real quick here.
Okay.
And then COVID, and then people couldn't get together. And how am I going to get any money? So it's like, I don't know, 2:00 in the morning. Sometimes you have these nightmares about how you're going to make ends meet. Okay, what I did wrong with that customer, doesn't talk to me anymore. Okay, so the idea was, let's do a video version of
There you
this.
go.
But
Okay.
rather than pictures of communities and schools and businesses and maps and school system, which was all this in here, along with a lot of ads, I decided I'm going to do a Zoom talk show interviewing experts in the location, real estate people,
Right.
about how to get familiar with the area and trust us, by the way,
Right.
and making connections. And I'm just rolling that out now. And I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I finally started doing something about it. And then I said, whoa, I'm getting callbacks.
Right.
What
You're
am I
an
going to do?
you're an entrepreneur at heart, aren't you? It's really a matter of just adjusting to the changing environment, and the environment is always changing, right? And so
Yeah,
you're looking at what you've done, what worked, how you leverage it. I mean, the good news is you don't have to invent anything. You just have to innovate it, right? I mean, if you think
reinvent.
about it,
Yeah,
Jeff Bezos, I mean, he didn't invent shopping.
right.
He innovated it. He found a new way, right? And that's
Or
what you're
rocket
doing.
ships,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so you
Sarah
know what?
Blakely, right, with
Yeah,
Spanx, right? She didn't invent girdles, she innovated it, right? Steve
Spanx.
Jobs didn't
Right.
invent phones, he innovated them. He saw them and said, well, those are kind of dumb. I think I'll make them smart, right?
Okay, I've got an idea, and I think you have more money than me these days. So I'm going to present this idea to you, and maybe you'll invest. So, so
Okay.
okay, so California in the West suffering from drought and
Yes,
wildfire danger,
I
right?
know.
Because there's not enough water.
Yeah,
All right. And so meanwhile, New Orleans and the Gulf states are getting deluged, right?
right.
So why not build a pipeline? They know how to build pipelines in Texas, right? They do
They
it
do.
already,
You're right,
right?
for the
So
oil,
let's
for
build
sure.
a pipeline from New Orleans and take all the excess rainwater. They can keep some, but we'll take
Right.
the excess and ship it to LA, or
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
stop in Vegas and Phoenix along the way. And
Exactly.
and then they could charge for it
Mm,
and get the whole thing financed with JP Morgan or Bank of America, right? And they'll issue revenue bonds because water, purified water, safe, will
mhm.
be like oil.
Right.
Okay. And then the next idea connected with this is moonshots now, right? So the next idea is to figure out how to use a new form of energy. I don't know what yet, but I have an idea. A new form of energy to augment desalination of the Pacific Ocean, which is right outside my window here in
Okay.
San Diego. And there's a lot of salt, never mind other junk in the water. So
Right.
there's all that water and it's right there, and all that water in New Orleans area. Let's bring it where it's needed and charge for it.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
how can we license that? Do you know anybody in the pipeline business in Dallas?
I don't know anyone in the pipeline business,
There's
but
got to be.
I think Jerry Jones,
The football guy. Yeah?
exactly, billionaire, was in the oil business. And so there has to be some kind of, I would think, synergies in the concepts, right, that you're talking about between just a different
Huh.
product going through and perhaps some different processes. But you would think that there would be some smart guys coming together with creative energy, thinking about how to pull this off.
But we have to practice DE&I on this. So we have to have a woman as chairman, and a Mexican as president, and the board and the board
And
members
you know you're talking to a Mexican woman, right?
can be black and brown and Jewish, and
Yes. Mm.
maybe we will have a Muslim, who knows? But
Different
the
perspectives, right?
yeah, I
Different,
mean,
yeah.
everybody's got to get involved and make some money on this thing, and
Mhm.
it's for the betterment of society. So let's talk about the e
Women
the
Network.
the e-women network.
Yeah.
So what impact? It must be large already, but there's there's millions of kids, call them kids, who are 25 to 30 years old in
Hmm.
business with business degrees,
Right.
and they all know how to do this, and and really quick. And any day, everyone will be walking around instead of these, which I can see you in, but it'll be augmented reality glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Just flip a switch or something here, and they'll be able to envision my pipeline,
Yeah.
and I can't.
Well, I think you've got a big vision for it already. I think you've already articulated that. It's really about, like all dreams, right? Finding those people who see what you see, who want to, join with you and offer something that you don't have, but is in alignment with the vision you've initially established. I mean, that's all CEOs, right? All CEOs eventually. And if you own a business, you are the CEO of that business, right? Your job is to, I always say, if you know how to do it, you're thinking too small. You should be thinking, as you call the moonshot, you should be thinking so big, right? That you see something, you're bringing something to the table that most people can't. And your job is to find those people that believe in what you see. All right. And so that's why you have to be inspiring and exciting and be really clear about how your vision is going to impact, in your case, the world, society, etc. And then, it is that 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of concept where, you begin networking. I just believe that all business is about networking. All business is about relationships. That's why I made relationships my business, right? Nobody makes it alone, but somebody's got to start with the idea and then surround themselves with a team that can help them. So a great CEO doesn't have the answers. A great CEO has the vision, right? And asks really great questions. Who do I need to know? What am I missing? Where do I get funding? Who else would like to be a part of this? How do we monetize it? I mean, you ask the great questions and you surround yourself with people that have the answers.
So, like the San Diego Padres baseball team for
Okay.
years has been sluggish. All right. And then but they've always had rich people owning the thing. But it
Mm-hmm.
was just a toy, apparently. But with basically the same ownership for the past 10 years, only about 2 or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, they they hired a guy out of Texas. He used to be general manager of Texas Rangers,
Okay.
a guy by the name of Preller, last name. And he was a young guy, and he had vision about how to build things, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So he sold his vision to this San Diego ownership. And he said, first of all, we got to stay alive until we get enough padres
Right, right, right,
in a collective way, hitting the ball rather than
right.
looking at the ball go by, swinging the bat, and then when
Mm-hmm.
you're on the base, run.
Right.
All right, that kind of thing. It
Just
sounds
a couple of
isn't
fundamentals.
that's like the game, right?
Okay.
So, and so it didn't happen much, but then they started finding these kids out of the Dominican Republic and Mexico and other places, and they put them into a training camp and paid them and put them under some contract so they don't screw around. And so it worked. So they found all these players with so much energy and young people, and have sped them through the system, and they started playing full time last year. And the Padres have been winning. Not as much as the LA team or the San Francisco team this year, but close, right behind it.
Okay.
So it, they just went out and got this other guy who's was just on the All-Star team, and for some reason the other team didn't want the guy anymore or whatever. Anyway, so the Padres are now loading up with all these players. So the management thinking has changed, and that's exactly what you're thinking about.
Right.
The old way was, well, everything has to go through the boss, the
Right.
CEO, or the board, and that's my way or the highway kind of thing. And innovation was something they did in research and development,
Right.
not anywhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now along comes what you're doing and what younger people, particularly young women, who are out there, whether it's law or even a tax, but more
Mhm.
so in consumer type vehicles, uh, and just making noise, making things happen. And so this is your target market now, right? And,
Well, you know,
and global.
oh yeah, totally global, 100%. But our market is really, women that are also, in their 40s and 50s. Women, there's something to be said about combining the youthful ideologies, right, and of thinking in a way that we may not have been otherwise brought up or programmed to think. But then there's something to be said about the wisdom that comes from years of experience, right? The wisdom that really understands, okay, so this is a really great idea, but here's where the landmines are. Now you can have somebody point you to the landmines, or you can have people take you by the hand and walk with you, right, to ensure you don't hit the landmines. I mean, nobody is an overnight success and nobody makes it alone. It really is about what you were talking about, and that is really creating not just the right thinking, right, but you need the right team. You need to have the right resources. You need to invest in the right tools. I mean, no idea, makes it on their own. I think of Jeff Bezos. I actually have his picture, when he was first starting Amazon, he used the door off of his, off the hinge of his office and put it on a couple of, like ladder kinds of things. And that became his desk, and wires were going everywhere. I mean, he was so far from the richest man in the world, with
But he had a
what
big desk.
he had a big desk to go with
Because
his big idea, right? To capture all the big notes. And it's a great metaphor if you think about it, right? Giving yourself the space for your big vision, I think is important. I mean, I could have operated my business out of my home. And I know there's a lot of people that love to work out of their home office. For me, it was hard at the time. 20 years ago, I had small children, and I found it really hard to keep boundaries. I'm like, oh, I can work and then I'll go start dinner. And then, oh, I can work and then I go pick up the kids. And then, oh, I can work and there was no boundaries for me. And I was living a successful, but not necessarily a happy life. And so, I took the plunge, and I'm 3/4 of a floor here in a Dallas high rise. But when I walk into my office, I have my business hat on, my business mindset. I'm here to do the things that move the business forward, that make the cash register ring. And that is part of my mental preparationness. You know what I mean? When I'm at home, and I am a mother, and now a grandmother, and a wife. And that really helps me create the balance that I think scares a lot of women from, building their own multi-million dollar global enterprise. You really can have it all. You can't have everything. You got to be clear about what's really important to you. But of the things that are important to you, I'm here to tell you, you can have it. You can raise great kids that actually like you. My daughter now works for me. You can be married. I've only been married once. I've been married over 40 years. I took care of my mother for the last 5 years of her life. I was with her for her last 5 days. I held her like I promised when she took her last breath, all while my business was, growing around me. But it took years for me to develop that kind of infrastructure and to find the right people and to learn as a CEO what I needed to learn. I'm constantly learning. Just being on this call with you, just talking to me about the Padres and what they've done just gets my own wheels turning around. How might I adapt that into my own business, right? I mean, there's just no one I have a conversation with that I listen to like you, Ed, that I don't walk away and say, that was as valuable for me as I hope it was for you, right? And I think that's what it takes to continue to succeed in this ever-changing environment that we're in. I happen to love the millennials, and I love the Gen Zs, right? And I actually have raised one of each. I've got a millennial daughter and a Gen Z son, and they're completely different.
yeah.
And I think it's important that we develop workforces that adapt to that.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a timely announcement.
Hi, I'm Sergey Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
So the Gen Z, I've got grandchildren in that category.
Okay.
And so they're basically pissed off at me as a boomer, and everybody else in my age bracket for creating such a mess, not only in the environment, but in politics and divisions and hatefulness, and not seemingly able to solve it either. Create it. Now, of course, we felt the same way.
I was going to say, what generation hasn't?
Not Watergate, Vietnam, and Nixon and all that crap. So, the anti-war thing. They're so nothing's changed.
Right. And I think there's that other generation coming even before the Gen Zs that I'm noticing is creating a little bit more balance with all of the online social media. And I mean, I think we're going to, I mean, I'm hoping that, you know, we just learn from each other. I think everybody, I fundamentally believe that most people want to do the right thing. I don't wear rose-colored glasses, but I fundamentally do believe that most people show up here and want to be successful, want to do the right thing. And what I tell people is if you don't like what it is you see, then stop talking about it and start doing something about it. And no one's going to make it just by themselves. But you know, you have to, again, it's really being the CEO. It's you Inc., right? You Incorporated. You're the CEO of your life, if not a business. And start to, if you don't like something, quit complaining about it and start really saying, what do I need to do and who do I need with me, right? And every major change in the world has, I think, started by someone who had a vision, inspired others, and rallied a movement and, you know, created change.
Can you envision teaching this in high school?
Oh, I can. I mean, I love to mentor youth and I create, you know, we have internships within the eWomen Network for our college. We do awards for scholarships for emerging leaders every single year. But I do believe that it starts even younger, right? Getting people to really see that they are the creator, you know, of their own life. And there's times that things are just going to happen around you that you're not going to like. But if you focus on what you don't like, I do believe that what you think about is what you bring about. So if you focus on everything that's wrong, then you'll see everything through a lens of being wrong, right? But if you focus on the things that are right, right, then you'll see more of what's right. And when you're, you know, I think negativity is just as contagious as positivity. And I just have decided I want to be infected by positivity. And so even my own CFO will say to me, there's no one like you, Sandra, that can find the positive out of something. And I just don't think that things happened to you. I think they happened for you. And if you are a student of life and you step back and say, why is this happening right now? Or what lesson can I learn or glean from this situation? And it's just the world saying, you're probably going to see this again a little bit later in your journey to success. And the next time the stakes might be higher. So it might be worth you slowing down enough to say, what can I learn from this? So that when it whiffs itself, when you go, I've smelled that before, you know, what is it? How is it that I might handle it differently and better? You know, and I think that our kids need to learn that for sure. You know, I didn't tell my kids to go after their dream. I showed them what it's like to go after your dream. They had a mother who said, I can be a really great mom and I can build a rockin', you know, multi-million-dollar global business as well. I can do both. And what I realized was I had a lot of lessons to be able to do that. It wasn't easy. And I did have mommy guilt for a while. And then I realized my mommy guilt was because I was doing everything I thought the kids wanted me to do to see me as a great mom. And one day I just said, what is it that's most important to you that you want me to do for you or be for you or whatever? And, you know, both kids, I was shockingly surprised how both kids, you know, really just needed one or two things. I live in Dallas. Football is a really big deal here, you know, and my son was a football player and he wanted to know that Friday night lights, no matter what happened, that I'd be home and I would be in the stands. And, you know, Ed, I did that. Once I found out that was what was important, I moved heaven and earth. And there was a couple of times I didn't make it, you know, to kick off. These are back before even Uber, when I had a taxi driver drop me off at the stadium, you know, where my son was playing. But what I found out was for many years, I was racking myself going crazy being the co-chair of the Scholastic Book Fair, which sucked up my time. And my son has no recognition, no memory of me ever doing that because it wasn't important to him. So I think it's important for all of us. So the lesson for me was that I had to learn to ask the question, what's important to you? And to do those things and to release all the I should have, I could have, I ought to, I'd be better at, I'd be seen as, which is garbage, you know, that really gets in the way of success. And I think this is a big issue for women. I'm not saying it's not an issue for men. It may be, but I do know that it's a big issue for women.
So we're different, of course, men and women, but it's almost incredible, and it's of course inspiring as well, but it's almost incredible that I could look at something and see the concept, all right, and my partner will look at that and say, no concept, can't even grip it. It's just the detail of this or the
Hmm. Yeah,
what is this doing? It should be this way, not that way.
right,
And I don't give a damn, about that. So,
right.
and that's just a really picky little thing, but that goes on all the time, right?
Totally, but
Right.
I see the value in both. There are a lot of people like you who are the geniuses of coming up with really great ideas that would probably exhaust you and you'd fold it and move on if you had to be the implementer
Right.
of all the little nuances. So we need those implementers. We need those people to tick and tie, to dot the I's and cross the T's while we're off creating, and paying attention to what the new opportunity is. What is the next user experience desire? And how can I be an early adapter to be there first, right? And then I need the other people there. The questions they ask can feel exhausting and daunting, and yet if you understand that they're only doing that to implement your great idea, it makes it worth slowing down enough, right, to answer, to give them what they need to still feel excited about implementing your idea.
This is really cool, Sandra. How much more time do you have?
I have, how much more time do you need?
Oh, let's do 5 or 6 minutes because
Okay.
I'm afraid the audience will jump off if it's too
Okay.
long.
Yep.
But I want you to come back and let's do another chapter.
Okay.
But about your books,
Mhm.
what do you want my audience to know?
Well, what I've been is, I think, I'm the author of, 6 bestsellers, but the truth is the core book, which is relationship networking, the art of turning contacts, into connections. It's really about connection today. It's really about creating community.
So how do you
It's
communicate that without coming on as a spammer?
in what way? I'm not sure. I've never had I think,
Turning a contact into a customer.
well, what your audience didn't see, I think I demonstrated it a little bit from the perspective of creating connection and community. Before we started, you hit the record button. I think I asked you questions about you, right? I mean, instead of making everything about me, it's to me about leading with learning first, right? Being other focused versus self-focused. And it just creates for me a shift in energy. It creates a conversation that we're having and not a rote set of questions that you're asking me to get through the list. But rather, let's trust, right, that we're going to go and I'm going to listen to your Padre story or your pipeline story with the water. And then my job is to really listen so that I can respond in a way that lets you know that I was listening. It's not just all about me coming on here and sharing what I think my agenda is for your audience, but to be in community with you, Ed. And I have built a multi-million-dollar business doing that. And what I know is that it's never failed me. If I just slow down and make it not about me and totally make it about the person that I'm with, it leads to great connections, great relationships, and all business is about relationships ultimately. The customer experience is all about the relationship you decide you want to have with your customer. And that's what creates not just customers, but even better, repeat customers. And even better than that is raving fans. And when you've got repeat customers who become raving fans and tell other people about you, then you're on to something really big.
Let me give you a quick example here to augment what you were just saying, but from my view here. I just got a text. I mean, while I was just listening to you, and it was a response. It came in at my 11:16, okay, which was about a half hour ago.
Okay.
All right, and I just saw it just a minute ago.
Okay.
This is from a major account that has been an advertiser, and then made a deal larger to do more.
Mm-hmm.
3 months ago.
Okay.
Hasn't paid.
Mm.
So, and then he kept making, I can't see no phone call, no message today. Let's do it on Tuesday at 11. Okay, Tuesday at 9:30, not 11. Sorry, got to push it. Let's do it on Friday. And then Friday came, and then, nope, can't do it. How about on next Monday? Not this Monday, but next Monday. Come on, And so no response or no communication, right? So finally this morning at around 5 a.m., my 5 a.m., I was going through some old messages. And so his name popped up, and I sent him a text, and I says, what did I do wrong? Nothing else, just that. Messages I've been sending, I was asking this and was wanting to do more with that, but finally I was so frustrated. I just said, what did I do wrong here? What's going on?
Right.
And he responded, okay. Nothing wrong. Sorry, been slammed, busiest ever. I'm in office all next week. You'll get your money. So you just can't give up. And you certainly can't display how pissed off you are.
Right, but you did. And what you did is you did it in a way that creates results, and it's called an I message. This is one of the most powerful ways to get people to take action, right? Particularly in your situation. You took the responsibility to say, what did I do wrong? That might not be the same way that I might handle it, but in the end, what you did was you used the I message. You put it on you, right, to allow him.
Rather than keep blaming. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I call you. I've set up X amount of appointments with you. You have promised me that you'd meet me through Teams. Each time you cancel and it's another week, and you don't value my time, and you end up not paying me. That's a whole different message that people tend to run from.
I know. It's like, whoa.
Versus, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Or what I might say is, I'm feeling like I am really, in your way. I'm feeling as if, we have made multiple appointments and it just hasn't been, important enough for you to be on. And so it tells me that, you see that either the work that I did wasn't up to par, the work that I, you've run into a cash crunch, or you just don't value me. You see what I'm saying? I am taking responsibility for how I am interpreting it. And then what you've done is you've given him the opportunity to now clarify.
You are a leader, and I want you to please come back on Global TV and tell the audience your website.
Yeah,
so people
very
can
simple.
get
It's
more.
and men love us, by the way. We market for women. We're not anti-male. We're just very pro-women, right? And I am supported and have coaches, and I have men that work for me. So just as a point of clarification, but it's if your customers are women, if your community is women, then you need to know about eWomen Network. Over 500 women and men connected to what it takes to launch, grow, and scale their businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, and please come back.
Sounds good.
This is Ed in San Diego. That's Sandra in Dallas.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.